You didn't necessarily have a player from the Philippines you could emulate. Who did you look up to?
From the Philippines was difficult to,
Think you know Alexandra Eala? But you didn't know these facts about her.
Alexandra Eala's dream run continues.
Here are the 5 surprising...
The girl who changed tennis forever. Alexandra Eala's rise is unlike anything we've ever seen.
Here in Brazil, we call you guys Filipimos or
Filipimos! Oh, nice!
so cute.
That's so cute! I love that. Oi, Brazil!
Welcome back to Champions Tennisitics. And if you are new here, buckle up, because today we are talking about the most electrifying, most talked about, most polarizing phenomenon in women's tennis right now. Not Iga Swiatek, not Coco Gauff, not Aryna Sabalenka. We are talking about a 20-year-old girl from the Philippines who walked into the sport with almost nothing but a dream, a devastating forehand, and the weight of an entire nation on her shoulders.
Think you know Alexandra Eala? But you didn't know these facts about her.
Alexandra Eala's dream run continues.
And she has been making the world's jaw drop ever since. Her name is Alexandra Eala. And if you don't know that name yet, congratulations. You are about to have your mind blown. Let's set the scene. Picture this. It's March 2025, the Miami Open, one of the biggest, most prestigious events on the WTA calendar. A 19-year-old wildcard, ranked number 140 in the world, walks in off the street. Nobody is paying attention. Nobody is writing her name in any bracket of consequence. She has no seeding. She has no big sponsor deal on the back of massive results. She is just a kid with a racket and something to prove.
You didn't necessarily have a player from the Philippines you could emulate. Who did you look up to?
From the Philippines was difficult to...
And then, in the space of maybe 5 days, Alexandra Eala turned the entire tennis world completely upside down. She knocked out Jelena Ostapenko, a former French Open champion, in straight sets. Fine, upsets happen. Then she walked out against Madison Keys, the 2025 Australian Open champion, the American powerhouse who was playing some of the best tennis of her career at that point. Gone. Straight sets. People started paying attention. Then came the moment that nobody on this planet saw coming. Iga Swiatek, number 2 in the world, 5-time Grand Slam champion, one of the most dominant players of her entire generation. And Alexandra Eala, this teenager from Quezon City who had never won a main draw match at a Grand Slam just months earlier, dismantled her 6-2, 7-5. Just like that, the tennis world stopped. Literally stopped. Because what had just happened defied every ranking, every projection, every algorithm. A 19-year-old wildcard had just beaten one of the greatest players on the planet, and she made it look almost casual. She went all the way to the semifinals before finally losing to Jessica Pegula. But by that point, it didn't matter. The damage was done in the best possible way. The story was written. The narrative was born. And the name Alexandra Eala was now permanently etched into the sport's consciousness. But here's the thing that makes this story so much bigger than just a hot streak at a tournament. Because what happened after Miami wasn't just about tennis. It became a cultural earthquake. It became a movement. Let's talk about what this girl means to the Philippines. You have to understand the context here. The Philippines is a nation of over 110 million people, and when it comes to tennis, historically, they have had nobody. No household name. No top 100 player. No one to look up to on the biggest stages of the sport. Basketball is king there. Boxing, thanks to the legendary Manny Pacquiao, runs deep in the national identity. Tennis was a niche sport at best, something you watched from a distance, something other countries cared about. And then Alexandra Eala came along and changed the entire equation overnight. There is a famous quote from a Filipino sports journalist who compared the Eala effect to the Pacquiao era, saying that when Manny was at his peak, life literally stopped across the Philippines when a fight was on. Nothing on the roads. Everyone watching. And now, observers are saying the same energy, the same fervor, the same national obsession is being replicated with every Alexandra Eala match. That is not hyperbole. That is the reality of what this girl has done to the consciousness of 100 million plus people. Since her Miami breakthrough, the crowds following Alexandra Eala around the globe have been nothing short of extraordinary. At the 2026 Australian Open, Melbourne Park's Court 6 was completely overrun. People were lining up hours before her first-round match. Fans were being turned away at the gates. security was overwhelmed. This was not a Novak Djokovic quarterfinal. This was not a Swiatek semifinal under the lights on Rod Laver Arena. This was a first-round women's singles match on an outer court, and it had the atmosphere of a Grand Slam final because Filipinos showed up in force, Philippine flags and all, refusing to miss a single moment of their girl competing on the world's biggest stage. Veterans of the tour, people who have been on the circuit for decades, were openly saying they had never seen anything like it. Coco Gauff, who beat Eala in Dubai in February 2026, literally addressed the crowd after the match and acknowledged the sea of Eala supporters who had packed the stadium so completely that Gauff herself admitted she had never seen that kind of turnout for a match that she was playing in. Think about that. Coco Gauff, one of the most popular players on the planet, an American star, a Grand Slam champion, had to acknowledge that someone else's fan base had completely taken over her match. That tells you everything you need to know about the magnitude of what Alex Eala has built. At Indian Wells in March 2026, the BNP Paribas Open posted 9 women on their Instagram ahead of the tournament as their class of 2026. 7 of those women were top 10 players in the world. The 8th was a well-known American star. The 9th was Alex Eala, ranked at the time just outside the top 30, not yet in the top 10, included not because of her ranking, but because of what she means to the draw, to the fan base, to the excitement around the tournament. The tournament's social media team posted a day-in-the-life video featuring Eala, and it became by far the most viewed piece of content from the entire 2026 tournament, and it wasn't close. Hundreds of fans packed a tiny practice court just to watch her train. On the courts right next to her were Alexander Zverev and Taylor Fritz, top male stars, fan favorites, and they couldn't pull in more than a handful of spectators. Alex Eala had hundreds. At practice, that kind of pull is unprecedented for someone at her stage of career, and the tournament organizers have been loving every single second of it. Now let's talk about the tennis itself, because behind all the fanfare and the cultural explosion, there is a genuinely world-class player being forged in real time. This is not a one-tournament wonder. This is not a viral moment that faded. Alex Eala has backed up everything she showed in Miami with consistent, high-level tennis across some of the most demanding events on tour. She made her first WTA final at Eastbourne in the summer of 2025. She became the first Filipino player in the Open era to win a Grand Slam singles match at the 2025 US Open, defeating Clara Tauson in the first round in New York, playing near a neighborhood in Queens with a massive Filipino community. The crowd so loudly behind her that she said afterward she felt like she had a home tournament for the first time. She won her first WTA 125 title in Guadalajara. She finished 2025 ranked at number 50 in the world, a player who started that same year at number 143. That is not a trajectory. That is a rocket launch. And 2026 has continued in equally breathtaking fashion. She made the round of 16 at the 2026 Miami Open, beating Magda Linette and playing what was described as the longest match of her career up to that point before falling to Karolina Muchova in a clinical 60-minute dismantling. She reached the quarterfinals in Dubai, beating Jasmine Paolini, the number 8 player in the world, 6-1, 7-6. She played at Indian Wells, where the fanbase phenomenon reached perhaps its loudest expression yet. And as the clay season has opened up, she has been putting in work in Linz, and then Stuttgart, where she took on the formidable Leylah Fernandez in a first meeting between 2 of women's tennis's most exciting young stars. Fernandez won it, but the clash itself was a tantalizing preview of what figures to be a fascinating rivalry, as both players enter the peak years of their careers. Now she has Madrid and Rome on the horizon as the clay season builds toward Roland Garros. And the question everybody is asking right now is, can Alex Eala make a deep run on clay? Because the hard court version of this player has already proven she can beat anyone on any given day. The clay version is still developing, still finding its rhythm, still building the patterns and the physicality that the surface demands. But what is absolutely clear is that the ceiling for this player is somewhere in the stratosphere, and every week she is pushing a little bit closer to it. Let's also take a moment to appreciate something that often gets lost in all the noise of rankings and results: who Alex Eala is as a person, because it matters deeply to understanding why the world has fallen so completely in love with her. This is a young woman who left her home at 13 years old and moved to Mallorca, Spain, to train at the Rafael Nadal Academy. 13. Think about that. Most 13-year-olds are navigating middle school friendships and homework. Alex Eala packed her life into a bag, said goodbye to her home, her friends, her comfort zone, and relocated to a foreign country to chase a dream that most people around her probably thought was impossibly ambitious. She did that because she believed in herself so completely that nothing else was acceptable. She won the Australian Open Junior doubles title at 14. She repeated that at Roland Garros Juniors. She became the U.S. Open Junior Singles Champion in 2022, the first Filipino ever to achieve that. And when she stood in front of the crowd and addressed them in Tagalog, the speech went viral. At 16 years old, she was on the cover of Vogue Philippines. This is not just a tennis player. This is a cultural icon in the making, and she is only 20 years old. What makes her even more special is how she carries all of it. There is no arrogance. There is no entitlement. When she speaks about the responsibility she feels, the gratitude she has, the awareness of what her success means to the people watching her from home. She has spoken about her dream being not just to reach the top of women's tennis, but to grow the sport in the Philippines and beyond, and she has already started doing exactly that. She was one of the architects, simply by existing, of the WTA announcing the inaugural Philippine Women's Open, the first WTA-sanctioned tournament ever held in the Philippines. The tickets for the final sold out before Eala had even confirmed her participation. That is what her name means now. That is the commercial and cultural weight she carries. She spoke at a tournament this year about what it means to her to be Filipino in the context of her international career, and she said something that absolutely stuck. She said that being so international with her profession, finding herself in different places around the world, makes where she comes from feel more important, not less. That it allows her to appreciate her culture, her roots, her identity in a way that is deeper than anything she could have felt if she had stayed home. And then she said, simply, "It really makes you proud to be Pinoy." The crowd lost it. Rightly so. Her Instagram following is approaching 1 million, more than double that of higher-ranked players like Jessica Pegula and Madison Keys. A Day in the Life video posted by a tournament this year became the most viewed content in that tournament's history. She is not just the most exciting young player in women's tennis. She is arguably one of the most marketable athletes in all of sport right now, and the brands, the broadcasters, the tournament directors are all waking up to that reality at the same time. And the fascinating thing, the thing that makes this story genuinely singular, is that the global Filipino diaspora has become one of the most powerful and passionate sporting fan bases in women's tennis overnight. There are more than 10 million Filipinos living outside the Philippines. About 1.7 million of them are in California alone, which goes a long way toward explaining why Indian Wells and the BNP Paribas Open have felt like home tournaments for Eala in ways that even established American stars don't get to experience. Filipino fans are showing up everywhere she plays, from Melbourne to Dubai to Stuttgart to New York's Queens. They are not just watching on television. They are buying tickets, booking flights, standing outside practice courts in the desert sun, staying up through the night to watch matches live from the other side of the world. That is devotion at a level that transcends sport. The Eala Tour, as some have started calling it, a tennis equivalent of the Eras Tour, has become one of the defining storylines of women's tennis in 2026. She is the player tournament directors want. She is the player broadcasters want. She is the player the WTA wants. And she has earned every single bit of it. What happens next is the question everyone wants answered. The clay season is open. Madrid is coming. Then Rome. Then Roland Garros. She has already made her Grand Slam main draw debut at the French Open. This year, she goes in not as a newcomer but as a seeded player, a ranked player, a known quantity with a monster forehand that has given top 10 players nightmares, and a competitive fire that has been validated over and over again on the biggest stages the sport offers. If she can learn the clay game the way she has learned everything else, with patience, with intelligence, with that extraordinary belief in herself, then a deep Grand Slam run on the red dirt is not a fantasy. It is an inevitability waiting for the right moment. And what a moment it will be. Because when Alex Eala walks onto a court at Roland Garros with her flag and her story and her forehand, and that army of supporters behind her, Whether physically in the stands or watching from Manila and from Los Angeles and from every corner of the globe where the Filipino community gathers, it is going to be one of the great sporting spectacles of the season. Mark it down. This is the thing about Alex Eala that is almost impossible to fully articulate, but is absolutely real. She has done something that only the rarest of athletes ever managed to do. She has made people who never cared about tennis care about tennis. She has made people who couldn't name a WTA player suddenly know the draw, know the scores, know the rankings. She has made a sport feel personal and urgent and emotional to people who were completely outside its orbit 12 months ago. And that is a gift not just to the Philippines, but to tennis itself. So to everyone watching this right now, wherever you are in the world, whatever country you are tuning in from, whether you are Filipino or not, whether you followed tennis before or just found it because of this extraordinary young woman, welcome to the Eala era. It is only just beginning. The best of Alex Eala is still ahead of her, and that is one of the most exciting sentences in all of sport right now. If this story gave you chills, if you are already a proud member of the Eala army, or if this is the first time you have heard her name and you are already converted, drop your country in the comments right now. Let's see where Champions Tennisitics is watching from. Say, I support Alex, if you are riding with the princess of Philippine tennis. And if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, share it with your tennis crew, and subscribe to Champions Tennisitics, because we cover stories exactly like this one, the ones that shake the sport, the ones that matter, the ones that remind you why you fell in love with tennis in the first place. We will see you in the next one.
Think you know Alex Eala? But you didn't know these facts about her.
Alexandra Eala's dream run continues.
You didn't necessarily have a player from the Philippines you could emulate. Who did you look up to?
From the Philippines was difficult to,
Filipina tennis sensation Alex Eala is gearing up for one of her most anticipated rematches of the season. At just